Hey ARKS, Silhouette here, once again with an info dump fresh off the presses from the NGS Prologue. As always, we're going to break this down into neat bite-sized segments so you can get all the info you need, a little bit of speculation into the future, and can get hyped for new Genesis all in short order. If you haven't had the chance yet, you really ought to go see the original broadcast, which has been uploaded to the PSO2 Global official YouTube channel. It's a very fun, quirky broadcast with very energetic hosts and a lot of production value, even with English translation. So please give it a watch when you have the chance. I am sure you'll like it. But so long as you don't have that chance, you have me. I'm going to be the guy who's going through the task of boiling down over an hour's worth of video to you so that you can get all the good stuff. We're going to move through it rather quickly, so don't worry too much about getting completely settled in. There's not a lot of old information being expanded on, we just have a whole lot of new stuff to go over. So, let's get into it. ARKS, welcome to the new Genesis Prologue 4 recap. First things first, a lot of you are probably wondering the same thing I am right now, particularly when is it releasing? Well, there's actually no new information on that. I was pretty sure that we were going to hear more specifics based on a few tweets I remember, but I can't seem to find them now. So maybe I'm just going insane and making things up in my head as I go through new Genesis withdrawal after the CBT ended. Is it a real physiological condition? Is Silly Game's life and well-being in danger if we go through too much longer without new Genesis? I don't know, but I imagine if we get flight mode from the SG sale sometime soon, I'll be okay. One of the first things we saw in the broadcast were displays of new fields, both exploration and combat. Western Alio has been revealed as an interesting looking beach region with some very nice rocky formations that I absolutely adore. Similarly, Halthia Lake was announced to be just outside the boundary that we were aware of in the closed beta test. Just northeast of Central City, a very scenic location with an inland water source that appears to feed a nearby waterfall, raised high on a plateau. Interestingly enough, these two areas were noted to have some very peculiar parameters regarding their habitation and spawning. Apparently, no enemy spawns occur in West Alio, even though there are a number of other features. We even spotted a cocoon at some point during the broadcast. Because of this, West Alio is probably a very good location for screenshots and other sorts of non-combat activities out in the world. Halthia Lake also reportedly has no enemies that spawn during what the host called normal hours, so it's very possible this location will be rather serene during the daytime, but have spawns that appear either during trials, urgent quests, or specific times of day. I don't know, maybe it turns into a monster nest at night. The next two areas we got to look at were both high-level combat areas, likely requiring a decent combat power to enter, much like Mount Magnus. The Vanford Laboratory Ruins are a familiar set of ruins that we happen to have seen and speculated upon during the closed beta test, visible from Mount Magnus from above. This area is reportedly swarming with enemies, and their sheer numbers are something to be feared. Alongside them are drones, an interesting sort of environmental hazard that you can turn to your advantage. They start off having a negative impact on players in general, but after a bit of percussive maintenance from you, with a little bit of bashing here and there, you should end up having them assist you in clearing the area. Armies of dolls and drones are not the only noticeable features, however, but also the ruins themselves. You'll be able to delve into buildings, climb over them, and navigate around them in a close-quarter style brawl as you deal with the aforementioned threats, which should provide a very different experience than what we saw in the closed beta test. The other combat region that we mentioned is the Resol Forest, which looks much like the forest we see in the trailer as Ash is running from the Nogloth. This region is also a very high power region, with the host mentioning that it's much more challenging than the others, and will likely require quite a bit of combat power to qualify for. And supposedly, it changes rather significantly during the night. We don't really know what that means, whether it means there's actual terrain changes, perhaps there's just cosmetic changes, the appearance kind of changes a little bit. Just that it is explicitly mentioned that it features drastic changes during the night, and it does look quite spooky. Next up, we have a few new enemies. A number of new dolls and altars have been revealed, starting with the transforming jet plane-like doll known as Orc, which not only is very happy to run a few bombing runs on your face, but also transform into a multi-tentacled monstrosity and bap you around as much as it pleases. There appears to be a lot of Sodom influence in this, among other things, so it'll be interesting to see how it feels when we get into the game itself. Next up, the Varus doll, which on first appearance reminds us of the Distal Saber Lumen mechs from PSO2 Classic, but it immediately changes it up with a flurry of rocket punches, a number of fists emerging from the shield and firing at you with rocket propulsion. Onto the altars we have the Big Frogga, which ironically does not resemble a frog in my personal opinion, but instead resembles the Blue Magaras from Wopal, and fires projectiles from their scorpion-like tail. Last but not least, out of the announced enemies, we have LD Scythe, which has a almost wyvern-like appearance with a pair of sharp wings that it will use to swipe at you vigorously and slam into the ground. That's all the announced new enemies, but we technically have just a little bit more. We saw some things during the prologue that were not formally announced, but were still there nonetheless. Starting with what appears to be a new Pedis variant, using a grenade launcher in the Vanford Ruins, as well as a large boss-like creature that appeared near the end of the prologue in a cutscene. We have no earthly idea what this thing is or what it's capable of, but it appears to be some kind of giant space Dorito. And if Shiva has taught us anything, Doritos are to be feared. Don't trigger its counterattack. It's an instant death scenario, my friend. On to the next item in the prologue, new story and characters have been announced. After leaving West Alio and heading to Central City, you'll find yourself meeting Crawford, the leader of the ARKS in Central Alio, along with a number of the operators for the ARKS in that region, including Ran, a very cute girl who now contends for the top waifu spot with Manon and Aina for a number of the chat goers during the broadcast, as well as her senior operators Liu Lin, Orange, and Rasa. Now, how much of a role these operators will have in the story is unknown, but they should be present announcing urgent quests and trials throughout the region regardless. After meeting these new characters, you'll be sent to investigate the Vanford Ruins, and that's where we're left. Man, not all that much new information and we're already wanting more. Funny how that works. Well, how about this? What about new gameplay changes? No worries, we got some of that too. First up, we have the Smart PA, now called Simplified Movement, which is effectively implemented for all classes. By using it, you will basically cycle through your abilities as the game determines appropriate based on distance and other factors. Remember though, much like the LUSTER Smart PA, autopilot PAs are probably not as effective as a player using their experience and tactical knowledge to directly influence the battle with their selections. Just keep that in mind. That said, a number of other new skills were demonstrated as well, which displayed some rather interesting expansions on the classes that we had not seen before. Hunters are getting another art skip attack, which allows you to cancel a series of successful PAs with a normal attack and instantly move to the end attack of your normal combo, which is usually much stronger than other attacks. This technically will be the third if you do not have the fourth combo attack, which is another skill entirely, but if you have that skill, you will move to the fourth, which is really nice, very powerful. Fighters are also getting a version of this called Fighter Skip Arts, with the different name seeming to infer that perhaps it doesn't require actual successive PAs, perhaps it can just happen instantly as long as you're using a PA. Wired Lances have the Wired Anchor Advanced skill, which changes the weapon action to be a more combo-friendly damaging attack instead of a zipline grapple like normal. Twin Daggers get Acceleration Drive, which appears to allow you to charge quickly forward after a PA. Grenade Launchers have Sticky Bomb Quick Reload, which effectively cuts the cooldown for the launcher sticky bomb weapon action in half. Launcher Charge Grouping allows charged normals to cluster together on opponents instead of spreading out, allowing it some utility in solo fights. The Gunner's Overwhelm and Attack PP Recovery both seem to go a long way to increasing the Gunner's PP management from what we could see and from the narrator's instruction. Forces get Elemental Bullet 5, which fires a photon bullet of the same element with a technique after you guard successfully, while Talus users now have the ability to consume a special meter to perform a special burst attack while attacking with the Tricky Capacitor skill. D-Band PP Recovery Boost makes a return for Techers, making their D-Band buff even better for all party members, while Wand Lovers now makes you immune to knockback for its duration, as well as reflect some attacks. Along with these skills, we also saw a few gameplay enhancements during this time, including the ability to gather party members via the Ryuker Tower scattered throughout the map. This will summon players to your location. We don't really have an idea of how that works from block to block, it might not at all, but from what we do know, at the very least it does work area to area. You can assemble someone from all the way across the map and bring them to your location, which is very handy for bringing your party together. Next up, we have Scratch information on launch, and boy, your wallet is about to weep, my friend, as New Genesis not only has plans to keep with the regular Scratch release schedule of 2 to 3 per month, but also will begin with not 1, not 2, but 3 new Scratches. First up, we have the Soldier Line AC Scratch, themed after the supposed defenders of Aleo. The left two costumes are themed after the various towns in the region, possibly like in West Aleo, sort of resembles Aina and Garoa's outfits, but the right two are themed after Central City. Along with these featured outfits, we see two new emotes, the 4 Pose and Cheer Up, but more importantly, however, we're seeing new motions, including a new idle motion, Hand on Hip, as well as the Photon Dash motion, Hover. This is similar to the hovering movement that cast have when they run, not photon dashing, but this one is usable as a photon dash. Next, we have the Wedding Celebration AC Scratch, which brings you more chances at being a bride or groom, or even a bridesmaid, and some strange person who appears to have wandered into the wedding with inappropriate attire from a chocolate factory or something, along with the emotes Bow and Observe. New motions in this one as well, including the idle motion Turn Neck and the glide motion Dive. Last but not least, the Passionate Spirit SG Scratch, which introduces the outfits of Aina and Garoa officially, as well as some more generic outfits alongside the finger emotes, which are essentially confirmed to be their own consumable ticket item at this point, along with new stamps, some of which are quite cool, and all of them are animated. Now, if that all pains you a bit as you consider only eating ramen for roughly a month to pay for all of it, allow me to offer you a slight reprieve before I get back to pummeling you into the ground with more costly news. SG scratches will work slightly differently now in New Genesis, starting with a basic cost reduction to about 50 SG per scratch, as well as giving you 1 scratch per day for free. Just like before, every 40 scratches will now see you getting your almighty prize exchange ticket, so that should all work nicely. However, that also means that these SG scratches will now follow the global model, meaning that if you're a JP player, you cannot trade your SG items in the swap shop for almighty tickets, which was the case for you guys in JP. It's actually much better that way in my personal opinion. What do you think about it? Let me know down below in the comments. Now that you feel a little bit comforted by the idea of not having to pay quite so much SG for the SG scratch, allow me to resume the beating. Announced alongside these scratches is a third Founders Pack, the Start Dash Rappy Pack. This pack comes with a Rappy suit whose color can be exchanged, an animated Rappy love stamp, the Glide Motion Rappy, which has your character flap their arms in a silly motion while gliding, and the Idle Motion Rappy, which oddly enough is basically just the female variant of an already existing emote, Rappies, but without any of the accompanying graphical effects. This is interesting, as it indicates that the PSO2 team is open to rehashing certain emotes as motions. Anyways, along with those fancy items, we're also going to have a lot of other goodies on the side, such as the premium and the material storage passes, and a couple other things. It's expected to retail around $50 US or so try not to starve, ARKS ups. Well, anyways, the prologue next reminded us of the Road to New Genesis campaign, going over each of the items in turn before ultimately coming at us with the new global campaign, the PSO2 New Genesis Rocket Start campaign. This basically is a series of items that we'll be completing once New Genesis releases in order to get a few more goodies, including an earring accessory and a new stamp. The requisites are simple, and I'm sure we're not going to have any problems with this, so just stay tuned and we'll see what else comes up when this releases. But wait, that's not all. And probably the most crucial items of interest are up next, including the New Genesis roadmap, which finally reveals once and for all that not only Braver, not only Bouncer, but also Summoner and what appears to be a base class version of Luster are coming to New Genesis. We will see Braver and Bouncer in the months following release further and further into the year, but Summoner and the mini Luster class will be next year. Alongside this information, it's revealed that we're going to have a starting level cap at 20 and only have access to the greater Aleo region, with various features being rolled out over the next 6 months, including titles, bringing mag devices to New Genesis, triggers, and defense quests, even mission pass items. During the winter, we'll finally start to see more content emerge, along with a new region. So stay frosty, enjoy what we have for the moment, and take your time. Last but not least, ARKS Ops, the benchmark software has officially been released. If you are already missing your character from the closed beta test like a few people I know, then you can get to work on recreating them, or you can even import your existing characters from PSO2 Classic into the benchmark and export them for New Genesis when it releases. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below for you to try it out yourself. Try it out and see what it looks like, and let me know if you got anything really cool in it. Anyways, that's everything, guys. This was a hell of a broadcast with everything including the kitchen sink thrown in. Honestly, I wish Bouncer was available on release, but I'll settle for it at least being announced and on its way. If anything, I'm more worried about the huge amount of money I'm going to be expending upon new Genesis's release, but that's just something I'll have to deal with. If you're interested in more guides, tips, and news for Phantasy Star Online 2 going forward, give me a like on this video and consider subscribing. It really does help me out, and I love you guys for it every single time. If you want to catch me live, I'll stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, and every second Saturday night at twitch.tv/sillygames. That's everything, guys. You're all wonderful. This is Silhouette, and I'm signing off. ARKS, may you have all the rare drops, and I hope to see you on the other side.